Welcome into the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us today. I'm going to start the show with a couple of different things here today. We're going to do I'm calling it my ACC SEC road trip because the majority of the folks that listen to this show are fans of the SEC or the ACC. So it's almost like a southern version of football today. And we're going to go over each game from the SEC and the ACC. Now, I'm a guy that I wish that I could have like the talent of my buddy Teddy Hefner in the morning, who was actually a beat writer, for the Gamecocks. So, I don't want to out Teddy with his age, although he'll be happy to do that on his show, which you can hear every day from 9 to noon. But I've written little, I'm calling them bubbles, and bubbles for each game this weekend. So we'll get into that. Also, I hold in my hand, you can hear it. Those watching on the Facebook stream can see it. These are my picks against the spread for this weekend. We'll have all of that, and we'll take your calls at 803-978-1832. Final time for you to sound off before we get out of here for the weekend. You can also tweet at me throughout the weekend. I'm at Rob Sounds Good on Twitter. And the folks that are listening to the fifth quarter postgame show on our sister station, 103.5 FM WVOC 560 AM. Thank you guys for that. The cool thing about that is that we also do pregame. And look, our pregame is not like a lot of other folks. We don't insult your intelligence. It's real football stuff. All of it centering around this week's matchup between South Carolina and Georgia. If there's anything going on with that game, we will know. I mean, it's simple as that, okay? But you should be checking that out tomorrow, 3 hours before kickoff, right there on 103.5 FM WVOC. Find it on the iHeartRadio app. I work the pregame with Christopher Thompson, and his co-host over there is Josh Kendall from The Athletic. All kinds of great stuff with that. And then the postgame show, myself, Justin Hall, and former Gamecock wide receiver Tim Frisbee, who will be a cranky old man on Saturday night because I think the Gamecocks are going down there for a little bit of a hurting there. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But we're going to do our tour of the SEC and the ACC this weekend. So we'll start with the SEC. The noon set of games, it's pretty much blowout central. I mean, there's not really anything that you really want to write home about, but I did do bubbles on each one here. Kentucky's at home with Chattanooga at noon. You know, the Chattanooga offense hasn't done a whole lot, putting up just 228 yards against Austin Peay. It's pretty much all you need to know about this matchup. Kentucky will get started early, and I think they'll coast to a big win there. Kentucky might get the shutout. Simple as that. Mizzou and Southeast Missouri. Goodness gracious. Mizzou will score a bunch of touchdowns, and they will blow out Southeast SEMO, as they call it up there. Look for Connor Bazelak to get the job done up there for Mizzou. Beatty, their running back, is special. Look for him to be put up some big numbers on Saturday, depending on how long he plays. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Beggin' Megan online says, I'm not sure we'll see the end of that Bama-Florida game. Lightning storms predicted here in Gainesville. We'll have to see if Beggin' Megan's is goofing on me or if he's actually giving me a real weather report. We'll go with real. Tennessee versus Tennessee Tech. You know, the folks from Tennessee, this should be a laugher. I mean, it really, really should be. Let's go out to the phones, 803-978-1832. Your thoughts on the weekend. Here we go. Welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, Rob. Listen to you talking about Missouri. That Missouri-Kentucky game was a really good game.
It was, but, you know, I think Missouri is they're a very young team, and Kentucky had a bunch of veterans. I put it like this. Kentucky next year, I know that we're always looking ahead, but Kentucky next year is going to be in trouble because they are losing everything. I
Yeah.
mean, everything for next season. So,
But, Stoops seems to always do something, He's a real good coach.
yeah, he does. But, he's kind of blessed this year with the team he's got because they've got a ton of seniors and their schedule, any SEC team would love to have the schedule that they have because the way it lays out is really, really good for them. Now, can they compete with Georgia? I don't think so. I don't. But
no, I don't think so.
If they do what they're supposed to do, they could definitely finish second in the SEC East. I really believe that. I think this is the year they get Florida, by the way. They got Florida coming to Como. I think this is the year they get them.
Yeah, be close. Do you think that there's any chance that FSU might try to get Stoops out of Kentucky?
If they were smart, they would.
If they were smart, they would, yeah.
But if they were smart, they'd go after Dave Clawson at Wake Forest. Why is Dave Clawson still at Wake Forest? Man, I'm holding the Dave Clawson flag up. But Florida State's a dumpster fire. I don't know if they have the revenue to they're still paying Willie Taggart. So I don't know if they have the revenue to be paying two coaches $10+ million not to coach there.
I mean, I watched that game. I watched the Jacksonville game, and they just were out coached. It wasn't about the players. I mean, they were just out coached, and you wonder how can that happen.
Megan online says he thinks Mizzou and Kentucky beat Florida this year. He might be right. But no, on that front, I don't know. I tell you what, man, it was Florida State was so spoiled for so long with Bobby Bowden, and then Jimbo Fisher did really, really well until Jameis Winston went to the pros. Then after that, it was pretty much a downhill slide. I mean, Florida State, if you look at their conference records, they're pretty in the past, 5 seasons, they're comparable to Wake Forest. They're not very Florida State like.
How many points does Wake Forest put on them this weekend?
Well,
I'll say 38.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I've got that in my ACC preview, and we'll get to that in a moment. But yeah,
their quarterback looks pretty good.
Sam Hartman does look pretty good, and he's trying to overcome his bowl debacle last season. He threw 5 interceptions in the bowl game he played in last year, but he's looked pretty good. So I think Wake wins this week, they'll be ranked.
Yeah. I actually saw him on the Netflix, the QB thing, and he's like one of the only ones that has made it.
Yeah, that's true.
From a very small school here in South Carolina, it just opened. But go Tigers this weekend.
We'll see how Clemson does. This is their bounce back game. We'll get to that when we get to the ACC in a moment.
All right, man. Thanks.
All right, thanks a lot. 803-978-1832. We will get back to our bubbles here. Tennessee and Tennessee Tech. The Tennessee Tech has not created a turnover this season. Their offense isn't moving the ball. They lost 26-0 to Furman. That's all you need to know. Tennessee, they will be out there with the big T's and all that, and it will be, I think Tennessee will blow them out. All right, then we got Alabama at Florida. Now, we're not going to get, in my opinion, a repeat of last year's SEC championship that Alabama won 52-46. Two completely different teams. Florida doesn't have Kyle Trask. Florida doesn't have Kyle Pitts. I think that I think Dan Mullen is a goofball. I mean, he really is a goofball. By the way, they'll probably have on the SEC network tomorrow night when the game's over. If they get pasted, look for Dan Mullen's press conference because it will be full of stupidity. I assure you. Anyway, Florida's defense has not been good on third downs. Their passing game isn't hitting enough throws, and the secondary is just shaky. Now, this game should be interesting. I think that Florida, in my picks, I'll give those to you later on. We'll go into that later, but I think Florida's going to hang around. But too much Alabama here. Arkansas and Georgia Southern. Arkansas, they're going to keep their stuff going there. They got great linebackers, and Georgia Southern will not run on them. Look for Arkansas to roll. Interesting matchup, Mississippi State and Memphis. But I think Memphis is getting 3 points at home, but when you look at when you look at Memphis, they gave up like 50 points last week. So I'm not buying Memphis being in this game simply because I think Mississippi State's going to throw the ball around this week, and they'll win big. Auburn at Penn State, that game kicks off at 7:30. Here's the thing. We don't know how good Auburn is. They've played 2 lower-level opponents, and this will be their first real challenge. We do know that Penn State went into Wisconsin and won, although it was a noon game. Wasn't the most outstanding atmosphere yet, but they were doing the jump around up there, and it looked pretty good. But I think that this will be one of the more interesting games of the night. I think it'll be close, but look for Penn State to pull it out. LSU is playing Central Michigan. I'm not saying LSU is going to lose this game, but Central Michigan already played against Mizzou, another SEC team, and they kind of hung around a little bit. Now, I know LSU is not Mizzou. I get that. Before the LSU fans call up and start yelling at me at 803-978-1832, understand your team is a team that is in turmoil right now. I mean, Ed Orgeron, in my opinion, is coaching for his job. The UCLA fans are selling sissy blue shirts after his little encounter with a fan there. I mean, you're kind of getting mocked here a little bit. But I think the Tigers are going to hit enough big plays. Central Michigan, though, will be right there in the mix. Stanford and Vanderbilt, the battle of the SATs, the battle of the smart kids. What other cliche can I go with here? So we'll go with that. Randall says Coach O has already lost his job. You know what? I could halfway buy that. He lost his job for me when he did the radio interview at the end of the season and said, yeah, I didn't interview any of the defensive assistants on last year's from last year's defensive team that was absolutely terrible. Even though they had All-American talent all over the place, they were absolutely terrible. And he didn't interview any of the assistants. Not only did he not do that, he told the world that he didn't do it. So he had like a double dose of stupidity. If you're an LSU fan and that doesn't anger you, I don't know what can. And I know that everyone's like, hey, he won that national title. And everyone sees Joe Burrow throwing the ball up and down the field. And I tell you what, that LSU team was outstanding. I'm not taking anything away from them. But last season, they were 5-5 on a team that should have been a lot better than 5-5. This year, they go out to UCLA and they lost to Chip Kelly, who just decided, hey, I coached at Oregon, then I was around the NFL for a while, but I just decided to start coaching football again, and I'm going to out-coach Ed Orgeron because that's what happened. Those Cajun folks that went out to that matchup, drove across the country, went into California, and dealt with all of that and went home with a loss. Those people are not happy. So I kind of agree with Randall. Yeah, he may have already lost his job. They may just be looking for something to not have to pay that buyout. By the way, if you're an athletic director, that should be, you should get some brownie points for that. If you could figure out how to get rid of a coach without having to pay his buyout. And by the way, I don't feel sorry for any of these coaches. You get paid $7-8 million a year. I don't think you should get paid 14 to sit at home or 14 to leave and then go coach somewhere else and make another $6 million. That's not working out at all. Megan says Coach O is Gene Chizik 2.0. Megan's on fire today. He must have got his whiskey shot. Normally he says some silly stuff. He's on fire today with that. Anyway, Stanford and Vanderbilt, that game's at 8:00. Vandy couldn't really run against Colorado State. So that's kind of what Vanderbilt wants to do. I think the Cardinal will get the downfield passing game going and the defense will take care of the rest. Vanderbilt is a punchless football team right now, to be completely honest. So look for Stanford to win the battle of the SAT teams. Tulane plays at Ole Miss at 8:00. I think Tulane's going to hang around a little bit. I know everybody's like, yeah, you're talking about how they hung around with Oklahoma. The reality is Louisville is not a very good team. And Austin Peay is not a very good team. So when you look at it from that perspective, yeah, Ole Miss is good and they're going to win the game, but I think Tulane will hang around. They'll keep it somewhat close. We'll give you our prediction against the spread here in a little bit. Randall says they'll fire him for cause for the Title IX. That voids out his contract. No buyout needed. They have to prove all of that. That means they got to go to court. So we'll see how that works out. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to dial. As we've rolled through the SEC, we've got our ACC picks. We'll come up with those after the break. Looking at the SEC matchups, so the cherry matchups, obviously, Alabama at Florida and Auburn at Penn State. South Carolina, of course, on the road at Georgia. We'll preview that really quick before we get out of this break here, or go into this break. The big thing with this matchup is I don't know who the quarterback is going to be for both teams, but in the end, I don't think it matters. I think that Georgia defense, and I've said this for a bit, is outstanding. I'm talking over the top outstanding. Probably the best defense I've seen. I can't think of a more dominant defensive team that I've seen in probably the past, 5-7 years, something like that. It's a very, very good Georgia defense. I don't know who Georgia's going to have out there as their quarterback. No clue. Could be Stetson Bennett. That's who the gentleman that we had on yesterday from the AJC said that he thought that he was going to start. But in reality, would anybody be shocked if any of the other quarterbacks went out there? Getting information out of there is insane. So we'll see how that works out. But I think that South Carolina is going to have some issues running the ball. There is a chance that Clayton White's defense could keep them because it's fair to say this because we don't know who's going to start at quarterback for Georgia. I mean, that's kind of one of those. It's really tough to figure that out, but I don't think it's going to matter. It'll be beatdown city tomorrow night for South Carolina, and I know that Gamecock fans don't want to hear that. They've been hearing it all week. About how Georgia is so much better than they are, and you know what? They are. So when you rebuild a program and you have to get the Muschamp stench off of you, it takes a while. So give Shane Beamer some time. I'm sure everybody's on that boat. First SEC game of the season. Still going to be a blowout city for the Georgia Bulldogs tomorrow night. All right, we come back. We will preview the SEC the ACC in just a moment. You're listening to The Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. How am I pissing you off, Megan? I said you're going to win. You're going to blow them out. You're like a prom queen that has to be told over and over and over again how beautiful you are. I said you got the best defense I've seen in 7 years, and you're going to blow them out. And you're like, don't piss me off, Rob. Don't. We're going to win 765-0. What the hell's wrong with you, man? You got to be told every day that you're beautiful. Is that what you need? Is it you're the most beautiful team ever? Get the hell out of here with all that nonsense. Third game. Oh yeah, second game. Yeah. If I'm the backup quarterbacks there, I'm looking around like, what? What the heck is going on here? Your coach keeps him there. I don't want to hear anything from you, man. Zach, you think so? Or are you just trolling? If Georgia gets up big tomorrow night, they should put Beck in there and let him play. What the hell do you have to lose? Just saying. It's not that far fetched. You get up, you're up 21 at the half. Put the other guy out there. Let him throw the ball around a little bit. (803-978-1832), 803-978-1832. Some comments from the chat room. Bang Megan says he can't believe that Stetson Bennett the fourth is going to be getting his second start of the season. He also says Brock Vandergrift looks like the bully from A Christmas Story. Several folks say that Beck looked terrible. Carson Beck looked terrible. So, yeah, we'll see. I honestly think that, and I was saying this to the folks in the chat room during the break, if you get up big tomorrow night and you're the Georgia team, why not put some of these other guys out there? Just a thought. That's how you develop some quarterbacks. Get them some snaps. Jimmy says, let's make some big plays on special teams just for Will Muschamp. South Carolina fans are still a little bitter. Still a little bitter. All right, our ACC preview. We'll go through our bubbles with the ACC here. Syracuse and Albany. No one cares. It'll be close, though. I think through a little bit, but then Syracuse will pull away. The last four FCS teams Syracuse has faced combined to score 27 points. Probably the best ACC matchup of the day is UVA at UNC. Here's the big thing with that. There was so much love for North Carolina at the beginning of the season, and Mac Brown was looked at as like this guy that may get North Carolina to a point where they could challenge Clemson, and that was the big matchup that everyone wanted in the ACC championship game. They go out and drop that first game to Virginia Tech, and the reality is that if they don't beat Virginia this weekend, they can kiss the ACC championship game goodbye. Simple as that. The ground attack was not very good against Virginia Tech. They had one good run with against from Sam Howell, but I don't think the offense is going to go off against the Cavaliers. And Bronco Mendenhall is a good coach. So this game will be one of the more interesting ones of the night or of the weekend for the ACC. Wake Forest will be playing Florida State. The Wake Forest offense is just going to be too sharp. Some folks are like, but Florida State's the wounded animal right now. They've been backed into a corner and they're going to come out punching. Yeah, I think they don't care. Remember, this is the Florida State team. The one kid's proposing on the field after you lose to Jacksonville State at home. Yeah. Now they're not focused down there at all. Mike Norvell is not exactly getting the results that he wants. So Wake Forest, I think, will end up winning that one big. Duke and Northwestern, another game of the smart kids. Northwestern got beat up by Michigan State. Didn't show much against an FCSer last week, but Duke lost to Charlotte. What a horrible game. Not very many folks are gonna be watching that game. Let's see here. We've got Clemson and Georgia Tech. That's a 3:30 matchup tomorrow. This is kind of the bounce back game for Clemson, and the reason that I say that is because I think Georgia Tech is that terrible. I mean, really terrible. So look for Clemson to flex their muscle a little bit, and I think they'll rip through Georgia Tech tomorrow. It's not going to be 73-7 like it was last year, but Clemson's offense will roll. Michigan State playing at Miami. This is the first meeting between those teams since 1989. Michigan State's offense has been pretty good so far, putting up 38 points on Northwestern and 42 on Youngstown State. Miami had to scrap to win over Appalachian State after Alabama kicked them in the face in the first game of the season. So Miami is a slight favorite there. Western Michigan plays at Pittsburgh. This is the Pittsburgh team that has, of course, Kenny Pickett, thrown for 557 yards and 4 touchdowns through the first 2 games of the season. They blew out UMass and then went on the road and won at Tennessee. I don't think this matchup is going to be that big of a deal for them as they play Western Michigan. Boston College plays at Temple. Dennis Grossel will be the quarterback for Boston College, as Phil Dracovic will likely miss the remainder of the year with a hand injury. He came in and replaced Dracovic early in Boston College 45-28 win over UMass last week. It looked okay. Threw for about 199 yards and a touchdown. So they do have some experience there for the Eagles, but I think losing Dracovic ends up really messing up their season, to be honest with you. And finally, Furman's at NC State. NC State looking to bounce back after they got popped at, Mississippi State last weekend. So Furman's a solid team, but NC State should roll. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Caden online. He is a Georgia fan, says he's got Georgia Tech. Now, either Caden is silly or Caden just has this bitterness against Georgia Tech, which to me personally, I don't know why Georgia and Georgia Tech play each other other than the fact that they're in the same state together. Seriously. I mean, that matchup is way, 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 way. I don't even know. I have to look up. Maybe you Georgia fans that are watching today can tell me what the way to go with that. So we'll see. But the Clemson in that matchup should roll, in my opinion. Lots of talk about, hey, is Uiagalelei as great as everybody thought he was? Is the Clemson offensive line in trouble? Clemson defense keeps rolling though. Keeps rolling. But I don't think it matters against Georgia Tech. They were struggled with Kennesaw State last weekend. So we'll see how that works out. 803-978-1832. Caden says he's trolling. Thank you, Caden. Began says in 15 years, Rick lost to Georgia Tech twice. All right, out of the phones we go. 803-978-1832. Welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, what's up, big dog?
What's going on, brother?
Nothing much. As you can see from my area code that I'm down here in Georgia, 404. So it's the first time calling. I seen your podcast because I follow Georgia football. So
right, all right.
What
you got for the show, buddy?
Well, I just want to start. No matter how bad it might get down here in Athens, South Carolina's okay because Georgia has one of those special teams this year. You don't really see that too often, even though Georgia is good pretty much every year. It's a special team this year. But I just want to say that we have an elite defensive line in Jordan Davis. When people look at Jordan Davis, I sometimes I think that some people get the numbers and the stats kind of they get overwhelmed with the stats.
Right.
But a defensive tackle, they're not going to make their numbers are not going to look good. That good. It's not going to be phenomenal.
Right.
A defensive tackle, their primary job is to clog up the middle of the line. So if you can have a defensive tackle that can take at least 2 offensive linemen, it takes 2 offensive linemen to block them. That's a very good defensive lineman. Just like if you remember I'm sorry.
Yeah, man, that's true, buddy, and you're right about that. Hey, give me a prediction on the game because I got a bunch of folks that want to get in. How do you think Georgia's going to do?
Well, I think it's going to be raining down here. It's going to be kind of ugly down here, so that's going to favor South Carolina. It's going to slow Georgia up. So the spread is of course 30 plus, but I could see four touchdowns, but because of how the it's going to be down here, the field might be wet. It's going to kind of slow down Georgia's speed a little bit.
All right.
So I think South Carolina can have a chance, to kind of slip by some big plays if they really focus and zoomed in tomorrow night.
Well, man, hey, I appreciate you. I appreciate you calling, buddy. But yeah, you got Georgia by 4 touchdowns in, right?
Yeah, I say about it's gonna be 4 touchdowns. I say about 20 to 24 to maybe 30. But because of the field weather and the prediction of rain, it's gonna slow down Georgia's speed. So I think South Carolina can kind of maybe get a touchdown or 2 if they really focus on what they need to focus on.
Appreciate you calling the show, man. Enjoy the weekend. All right.
All right, you too, man.
Back out to the phones. Welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon,
Rob. As a Tater fan, when that last caller mentioned the name Jordan Davis, did you just kind of instinctively go into the fetal position, or I'm not watching?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're talking about, sir. But why don't you tell us your prediction on the game this weekend, since you seem to be Kreskin and know everything?
I will do that. But you just mentioned Mississippi State had beaten somebody that Saturday. Who was that they played? I forgot.
NC State.
NC State, the ACC team, right? And you were making fun of Mississippi State for almost losing the week before. Just making sure we're clear on that.
Once again, they had to rally to beat Louisiana Tech. If you want to go on record that Mississippi State is good, then hang it out there. You think they're great? Yeah. Can they beat Alabama?
When they
want to go that route?
Do
you want to go that route or not?
It still goes down to the W,
are you just one of those guys with that's like, hey, they're an SEC team, and I'm just going to call up and just razz Rob about it? Is that where you are?
Well, I think you sort of dug your own grave there. I think that's something you created. But anyway, prediction for the game. Sure. I don't think Georgia covers this game. I think Georgia's going to struggle due to the rain and due to the 5'8" quarterback. They're probably going to roll out there. I'm not saying it'll be close, but it's not going to be a 31, whatever the spread is. I don't see that.
Respectfully, if you had JT Daniels back there in picture perfect weather, would they cover?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's fair.
Yeah.
Are you gonna get behind Stetson Bennett if he wins another game for you, or are you just gonna call him the 4'8" guy?
I can't believe that. Like I said, it's 2021, and he's gonna, by the end of this game, he's gonna have more snaps than Daniels has played this year. It's just, I can't even believe this is happening. But as a Georgia fan, I should.
He may end up with more snaps in his career than Daniels has eventually. If that,
you're right.
Because I mean, and the only reason I'm saying that, I'm not trolling or acting silly with that. Kirby Smart hasn't really told us much about when he's going to be back. If he keeps him out of this game, I mean, how hurt is he? I think that's a fair thing, right?
Here's what we know by now about Kirby. When he starts talking injuries, just tune it out. He is not going to be true. And that got him in trouble with that quarterback controversy last year. Later, we found out JT Daniels came to him and to Todd Monken and said, "Look, I've been cleared to play, but I'm telling you, I don't have the confidence in my knee that I really need to drive through these passes."
Fair.
And that's why we saw Stetson Bennett out there. And I knew that was the case. It came out a few weeks ago that that's actually what happened, because there's no coach in America who looks at those two and says, "Yeah, let's start Stetson Bennett over a healthy JT Daniels." That's just not going to happen. I don't care how dumb you want to make fun of Kirby Smart for being. That's just not going to happen.
Once again, we actually agree upon something.
Yeah, but it's here we are, stuck with Stetson with a possible championship level team, and that's what we're going to roll out there at quarterback. So,
well, that hopefully that I would like to see Georgia get out there and actually have their quarterback and be able to complement that championship level defense that they have, because in reality, those guys are playing their balls off. And it's not really fair to them. I mean, I'd like to see them go up against Alabama and have Daniels versus essentially Saban, and then that defense against that Alabama offense. That'd be some great football to watch.
And I will say this, after watching Beck, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he made the wrong decision. Beck did not look good. Stetson definitely looked like the better player, which is scary, but someone's got to answer as to what's happening to quarterbacks at Georgia. This has gone on too long now.
Whenever I say anything about that, people just get upset with me. So we'll see. That's all we can say about it. We'll see. Thanks, man. Have a great weekend. One more call before we go to break. Welcome into the Rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, man.
What's up, buddy?
Give a prediction on the game.
What you got?
I'm thinking like a 14-3, 10-0. If you look at the stats defensively, South Carolina against ECU and then Clemson against SC State, the stats are pretty comparable defensively. I think South Carolina's got a lot better chance of slowing down the Georgia offense than people are giving them credit for. Problem is, South Carolina's not going to be able to score points against Georgia's defense. So I think we're looking at a low-score game here. Like I said, a 14-7, 10-3, 10-zip, something like that.
So you think it'll be that close? Okay. Well, and with the weather, that the track could be rough. You never know. Wet footballs are hard to handle. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's one of those things that it does help with the on the defensive front for both teams, to be honest with you, because the passing game may be a little bit lacking. So
right, exactly. And like I said, if you look at what Clemson did against SC State and then what South Carolina did against ECU, the numbers are fairly comparable, and Clemson kept them to 10 points.
Yep, that's true.
So,
all right, man. Hey, I appreciate you calling the show, bud. Thank you so much.
Take care, bud.
All right. That's like the best that you can get for optimism for South Carolina is that maybe it'll be like 14-3. Quick break. We'll come back and we'll do our picks against the spread. This is the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Come on in, John.
Imagine a disease that can hurt any part of your body, like your joints, heart, kidneys. Your immune system becomes so hyperactive that it attacks instead of protects. That's lupus. You don't look.
Our engineer just walked in. When he walks in, I got to stop and talk to him. Say hello to John. John, say hello to everybody. It's a hand. John's from Maine and doesn't know anything about football. What is that thing? What thing? Get out of here. He's a hockey fan. I did say wet football, Shane. Thank you for that. I almost said wet balls. That would have been bad.
Kaufman's meat plant at our present location in 1955. My family still works hard every day to ensure fresh quality cuts of beef, pork, and poultry. How about a tasty T-bone, ribeye, or New York strip steak? But to order at Kaufman's Meat and Place, just look for the signs near the intersection of US 1 and I-20 in Lexington. Call us at 356-0076 to place your order. Kaufman's Meat and Place, when you want the very best the money can buy.
Colin Coward. Here's what's trending from iHeart Sports Network, presented by Mercedes-Benz.
South Carolina gearing up for its biggest test of the season so far. They'll visit number 2 Georgia tomorrow in a measuring stick game for Shane Beamer's fun. Veteran corner Rashawn Melvin is returning to the Panthers, signing to the practice squad today as injuries and a suspension leave the team thin on the outside. And Carly Lloyd's retirement tour is off to a smoking start. The soccer star scoring 5 goals last night in the U.S. women's national team win over Paraguay. I'm Scott Davidson.
They say lightning never strikes twice. Try Aton. The unrivaled Mercedes-Benz SUV family is waiting to make the impossible happen for you at your local dealer. Test drive one of the 8 impressive models or learn more at MBUSA.com.
Facts with a sprinkle of opinion. The Rundown with Rob. Weekdays at 3 on Fox Sports Radio 1400.
Final segment of the Rundown this afternoon on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Around the world on the iHeartRadio app as we get ourselves squared away for the football weekend. Actually, I don't have a lot of time here in this segment. I went long in last segment. I was going to do picks here, but I've only got about 90 seconds before I got to take another break. Some questions from some of the folks online. Actually, Jimmy says, Jordan Davis is a freak athlete and a senior. Why hasn't he already gone to the NFL? I don't know. It's a good question. Shane made fun of me for saying wet footballs. We're all children today, folks. That's what it basically boils down to. Anyway, we're going to have our picks against the spread when we come back. Baseball season's getting ready to wrap up too. The Braves are right there in the mix. They play tonight in San Francisco. They have a 3-game lead in the NL East. So I'll be watching some of that matchup tonight. Got Central Florida and Louisville tonight as well. And then a Big Ten matchup with Maryland and Illinois. Central Florida is an 8-point favorite on the road. Maryland's a 5-point favorite on the road at Illinois. So you folks that want to find your favorite person to wager with, and that's what people do. Our governor here doesn't think that we're smart enough to bet, by the way. So there's that. All right, quick break. When we come back, we'll have picks against the spread. Thanks for checking us out here on the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Andrew, that's a cool question, man. I've got a setup at my house, but I come in and I have a setup that wires my board here so you guys can hear phone calls and everything else there. My setup at the house is a little bit different. I've got my cameras mounted in here, the wallpaper and all that back there. So, but at home, when we do the show on Sunday and Wednesday night, I do that at my house. I've got a microphone that's got noise canceling with it, so you don't really hear everything else that's going around. So also, different little setup at the house. I just got a brand new laptop, and I'm able to run different things on that, so I can do all of it from home. I'm remodeling a piece of my house, and I'm going to actually have a studio built there because I voice ads for folks across the country, promos and things like that. I do a lot of work for like churches and just all kind of stuff. So yeah. All right. Go Bucks, man. You have a great weekend, man. Thanks for checking out the show this week, man. Yeah. You could spend some money though, getting a little setup going. If you want it to look right, having the lights and all that. So I think my home setup cost, with the new laptop, the microphone, the software and stuff that I use, I think I spent around, I don't know, $1,700 for all of it. So, but there's little things that like Adobe Audition and things like that, which is a program you use to record and edit. And I can do all of that. And I buy that too. So. I've been battling this head cold, man. It's crazy. I've been tested for COVID twice and I don't have it. So that's good.
Where we just answer all the crazy questions we get about
Kale's going to be upset. Let's just leave it at that. He knows that South Carolina is not really going to be competitive. He knows that, but they lose, he gets mad. He'll text me during the game. And for folks that watch the Rob and Comrade show for a while, Comrade gets upset too. I mean, he gets hot. Final segment of the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. That is when we do our picks against the spread. Last week, hold on. Last week I was 6-3-1 in the 10 games we picked, so that's pretty good. 6-3-1. All right, so the games we got this weekend: Virginia Tech on the road at West Virginia. Not a lot of love there for the Hokies against the Couch Burners here. Give me Virginia Tech. They're getting 3 points going on the road. I think they win that game. So give me Virginia Tech, although I do think it'll be close. Let's see here. Nebraska and Oklahoma. I think that Scott Frost he's kind of gone into a shell mode, to be honest. The game is on the road at Oklahoma. Here's the thing. Oklahoma doesn't play any defense. Doesn't matter who you are. Oklahoma doesn't play defense. So I think Nebraska will cover the 20 and get within that 23-point set there. Cincinnati and Indiana. Indiana is getting 3 points at home. Wow. That's kind of interesting there. Cincinnati is really good, though, so I will take Cincinnati, even though, man, Indiana getting the points there. That's kind of interesting, to say the least. Some other matchups we'll look at here. Georgia Tech and Clemson. Clemson's going to cover. The last 6 matchups with Georgia Tech, Clemson is 5-0-1 against the spread. Georgia Tech is not a good football team. And by the way, Jeff Collins and his press conferences, man, they're tough to watch. They really are. So give me Clemson to win that matchup, and I'll give up the 29. Alabama and Florida. I don't think anyone is going to be surprised if Florida makes a game of it, and I think they'll get within the 15 late. So give me Florida to cover, or to get within the 15 there. Florida State and Wake Forest. Give me Wake Forest -5. And let's see here. 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 4 more here. Memphis and Mississippi State. Mississippi State's a 3-point favorite. Memphis has issues with defending the pass. Mississippi State should roll big time in that matchup. And let's see here. Other matchups that we're going to be following tomorrow. Auburn and Penn State. Give me Auburn to cover. They're getting 7. I think that that game is going to be fascinating there. And I think that for some reason, I kind of like Auburn to not win, but cover the 7 points there. And Auburn fans will not be shut up if they go up to Penn State and win. They'll think that they are just the absolute greatest thing ever. And look at us. We hired Brian Harsin, and glad we got rid of Gus. We'll be hearing that next week on Twitter and everywhere else. But give me Auburn to take care of get within the 7 there. South Carolina and Georgia. Actually, we'll do that one last because I don't do 10 every week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got 1 more. North Carolina and Virginia. North Carolina is a 10-point favorite in this matchup. I think Virginia will cover, and North Carolina will win by 6 to 8 points. And finally, South Carolina and Georgia. Georgia is a 32-point favorite to open. The lines dropped to 31.5. Yeah. When you try to look at good things and areas that might help South Carolina keep it close, Chip Towers yesterday was talking about how the Georgia kicker has had some issues. Maybe maybe that could happen again. Maybe the weather will keep the track wet. I mean, looking for things that can help South Carolina here. Maybe Georgia overlooks South Carolina. I doubt that. But it just comes down to, and Gamecock fans are sick of hearing this about, depth. We don't have enough depth here. We don't have enough depth there. It's going to be a tough matchup tomorrow night for South Carolina. The Georgia defense is really, really good. Now, what can South Carolina take away from this game? You got to square up against the big boy here. If you go out there and, you get beat, but you go out there and you play hard and you play well and you see the body language in the fourth quarter and they look like they still care, that's a big thing there for South Carolina. Aaron says he thinks weather is overrated unless it's a hurricane or something. It doesn't make much of a difference. Georgia covers. Blake says Virginia might beat North Carolina. Bronco Mendenhall can coach. Now, I say the sad thing is because I like Mack Brown. If he loses this game, I think it knocks them out of the Coastal race. And the rest of the season, in my opinion, becomes the Mack Brown farewell tour. Just a thought. I don't think he's coming back next year unless North Carolina really turns it around and they make a real run at it. T-Money Online says Georgia 45, South Carolina nothing. Justin says Georgia 20, South Carolina 10. Lee says 28-10, Georgia over South Carolina. We'll have a couple more minutes here if we want to take your calls at 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. The matchups I'm looking most forward to this weekend include that Auburn-Penn State game, Virginia and North Carolina, Virginia Tech and West Virginia, and the Florida and Alabama game. How real is Florida? Seriously. When you have Alabama right there in front of you, you're going to find out how good you are. Going against the best. Going against the absolute best. Carolina Jackpot Online says Georgia isn't covering a damn thing. Can't wait till they play your team. And he's talking to Aaron, who's a Tennessee fan. Boy, that's going to be a bitter matchup. He's got South Carolina losing 38-17. My pick on that, I've got Georgia covering, which is going to make my buddy Carolina Jackpot there upset. I don't see South Carolina's offense moving the ball. If you can't really move the ball with ease against East Carolina, how are you going to run the ball and move the ball with ease against Georgia? Just saying. I think the game might get out of hand tomorrow night. I've got Georgia winning 42-3. There you go. Jackpot says Georgia's quarterback reminds him of a tattoo from Fantasy Island. Okay. UGA Go Dog says South Carolina isn't scoring on Georgia. Caden says they're not scoring 17 points. Stop it. We'll see. We will see. All right, our best Gamecock coverage tomorrow on WVOC. You can find it on the iHeartRadio app, 103.5 FM, 560 AM. Christopher Thompson, myself for pregame, along with Josh Kendall from The Athletic. Postgame, myself, Justin Hall, and Tim Frisbee, former Gamecock wide receiver. We will be at it tomorrow. Everything you need to know about South Carolina and Georgia. All right. Don't forget, Lawton Swan of Clemson Sports Talk is next. He is the czar of Clemson Sports.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
Yes, follow him on Twitter at Clemson Sports. I'm on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. Podcast for the show will be up at 5 o'clock. You can listen throughout the week and make fun of me on Sunday. That's what some folks do. You said this team was going to do this. Yeah, okay. All right. We'll talk to you guys later on. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. All right, you guys have a great weekend, man. Appreciate y'all. Jackpot, good to hear from you, buddy. Oh, I watched your prediction video, Jackpot. That's some good stuff. Check out Jackpot's prediction video with all of his lines. That guy puts in the work, man. He knows his stuff. He's silly, but he knows his stuff.